This is NECN Now.
For the sexual abuse of children, these cannot be maintained in secret.
Right now on NECN, an apology from Pope Francis. More on the Pontiff's meeting in Philadelphia with victims of church sex abuse. Plus, hundreds of thousands of people gather for a chance to pray with the Pope at his final Mass in the United States. Plus, a big afternoon on the field for the New England Patriots and Tom Brady. And let's take a live look right now at Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's where Pope Francis is celebrating his final Mass in the United States. Thousands upon thousands of people are there. They've gathered for the World Meeting of Families. Good afternoon, I'm Jackie Bruno. It has been another busy day for Pope Francis. We are in the final hours of his visit to America, and still the pontiff continues to draw large crowds and make lots of headlines. NECN has live team coverage of the papal visit. Our Jeff Saperstone is in Philadelphia right now, where he's met with many people from New England who have made that trip to see the Pope. Our Alicia Rodriguez has reaction to the Pope's apology to victims of the church sex abuse scandal. But first, let's get to our Greg Whalen. He has a closer look at how the Pope is spending his final day here in the States. Greg?
Indeed, Jackie. And on this final day, Francis turned teacher and comforter, touching more directly than he has before on painful and thorny issues, while the faithful rushed to see him one last time on American soil. On the streets of Philadelphia, from across the country, from around the world, pilgrims are gathering, flocking to security gates, packing subways, making their way to Benjamin Franklin Parkway, where Pope Francis will celebrate an afternoon outdoor mass. That morning, Francis had been greeted and sung to by seminarians at St. Charles Borromeo Seminary. He had spent the night there. In a chapel there, he addressed bishops from around the world. He spoke to those spiritual leaders about the clergy sex abuse crisis and had already met privately with some victims, 3 women and 2 men.
And it continues to be on my mind that people who had the responsibility to take care of these tender ones violated that trust and caused them great pain.
And during that same meeting with the bishops, he decried the legalization of same-sex marriage, noting the changing times that challenged the bishops as teachers of Christian morals.
Until recently, we lived in a social context where the similarities between the civil institution of marriage and the Christian sacrament were considerable and shared.
At Philadelphia's Curran Fromhold Correctional Facility, the city's largest jail, the Pope was greeted by 100 inmates and their families. Through a work and education program, they had built a chair for Francis. He spoke to them about rehabilitation and forgiveness.
This time in your life can have but one purpose: to give you a helping hand to get back on the right path.
And coming up at 6, we'll listen to what Francis had to say during his homily during that outdoor mass. I'm live in studio, Greg Whalen, NECN.
Thank you so much, Greg. And taking you live back to Philadelphia now, hundreds of thousands of people are there for this mass today. Officials say this is the biggest crowd yet of any of Francis's stops in the United States. Our Jeff Saperstone is live in Philadelphia, and he caught up with some of the locals who made that pilgrimage to Philly. Jeff?
And Jackie, we just received a crowd estimate here in Philadelphia. Just over 850,000 behind me. They are still here celebrating Mass with the Pope on his final day in the United States. This sea of humanity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to hear the Pope celebrate Mass.
This has been incredible.
Pacelli Braga organized a group of more than 600 from the Boston Archdiocese. They arrived this morning.
He is a very special Pope for all of us.
Pope Francis's entire week in the U.S. leading up to this moment. He made his entrance in the Pope-mobile, not far from where these Boston College High students were standing.
In some ways, it's beyond words, because you get to see a man that's so important and influential and religious.
The Pope's message resonating with the young.
He expresses love rather than hate. He's just a great human being.
And old.
He's just down to earth, and he's a regular human being, and and he's very holy, and he's very loving.
More than 1 million expected on the Ben Franklin Parkway. The lines to get through the security checkpoints were blocks long. People waiting for hours to see the Holy Father, but no one seemed to mind.
Just to see him pass and be in his presence.
So back here live, you can see all of the people on Ben Franklin Parkway. Again, a crowd estimate of about 160,000, and there are still many thousands more waiting to get through those security checkpoints. Presumably, they are hearing this mass through the speakers and seeing it on the television monitors throughout this city. But again, so many here in the city of Philadelphia on the Pope's final day. For now, we're live in Philadelphia. I'm Jeff Saperstone, NECN.
Thanks so much, Jeff. And this morning, Pope Francis met with victims of the church sex abuse scandal. He offered an apology and promised to hold those responsible for the crisis accountable. Our Alicia Rodriguez is live outside the Cathedral of the Holy Cross in Boston with more on that part of the story. Alicia?
Yeah, Jackie, you know, there has been so much joy and excitement surrounding the Pope's first visit to the U.S., but here in the Boston area for victims of clergy abuse, the feelings have been exactly the opposite. And as you said, the Pope did address this issue, and it's something that he's talked about more in this visit than he ever has. It's a divisive topic in the Catholic Church, one that Pope Francis has carefully tried to avoid, and victims of sexual abuse have noticed.
That should have been priority number one, not going around doing what he's doing like a rock star.
But at the start of the Pope's trip to the U.S., he did address the sexual abuse scandal head on. But in that speech, he praised American bishops for being courageous in their handling of the scandal, with no mention of victims.
For him to turn around and praise the bishops for their courageous actions was really, it put people into a tailspin. It was re-victimizing people.
But after meeting with clergy sexual assault victims, he spoke off script in a different apologetic tone.
God weeps.
Los crímenes y pecados de los abusos sexuales a menores
for the sexual abuse of children. These cannot be maintained in secret.
Pope Francis vowed to end the secrecy exposed when the scandal erupted here in the Boston area in the early 2000s.
For him to come out now and act like it's the first time he's heard of it and decide to address it, while it's a positive, it's still insulting that it takes this long to hear any positive direction.
Alexa McPherson says she was abused for years by her priest. She received a settlement from the church, but he was never criminally prosecuted.
If he really wanted to drop the gavel, he could have got rid of any priest that did this stuff.
Bassam Haddad says he was abused by his priest for years. The church denied his claim, and the priest was relocated to Lebanon.
He's not going to do anything. Nothing. He's going to say it. He's going to tell everybody, I will, I will, I will. Until I see it happen, I'll believe it.
Now, I did speak to Mitchell Garabedian. He is the attorney that represented dozens of local victims, and he actually is a little more hopeful about what the Pope could possibly do. He said that as long as Pope Francis continues to meet with victims and speak out about the issue, there could be change. Reporting live in Boston, Alicia Rodriguez, NECN.
And NECN has been covering the Pope's visit from start to finish. Our Jeff Saperstone will be reporting throughout the evening from Philadelphia. If you would like to see more video and photos from the Pope's entire trip, though, you can find it on our NECN News app. And now to your early warning weather. A gorgeous fall weekend here in New England, but some changes are on the way. Let's talk to meteorologist Tim Kelly. Hey, Tim.
Certainly feel blessed with a beautiful day in New England. Boy, above and beyond the call of the forecast. And that's going to carry on right through the moonrise and